Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. My name is Vakar Puri, and I'm based in Pakistan, and I'm working with Transforming Communities for Inclusion as a senior programs officer. And it is my pleasure to welcome all our members to this induction webinar. And we also welcome all persons with psychosocial disabilities who have joined us from the national networks of our national members. So thank you so much for joining this webinar today. As an induction webinar, it is uh, not possible without you all. So I would like to thank all of our distinguished speakers, our leaders, and our mentors who have joined us today for this webinar. And on behalf of the Secretariat, we express our gratitude to all of you for taking out time for joining today, where members from different parts of the world have joined us and to share your experiences with all of those members who have joined us recently. Today, all the new members will have the opportunity to hear a lot from you about the works you are doing at the national level, your advocacy with the government, how TCI has supported movements to build at the national level, and how TCI provides a platform from the national to the regional and global levels for leading advocacy initiatives. The idea of doing this induction webinar is to engage with all new members, share learning between all of us, and explore opportunities how, as a movement, we can work together and take forward our advocacy at national, regional, and global policy spaces. So before we proceed further, I would request Fiza to say any logistic notes for the webinar today. Over to you, Fiza.
Thank you, Vakar. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I am Fiza, Programs Coordinator at TCI Global, and thank you all for joining us today. Before we officially kick off the meeting, I would like to share a few guidelines for this meeting. Firstly, I would like to inform you all that this webinar is being recorded. The purpose of recording is to make it available to those who registered but couldn't attend due to different time zones. To have access to the closed caption, please access the CC button located at the bottom of your screen. We also have Bahasa Translator for this session. To access the Bahasa Translation channel, please click on the globe on the bottom of your screen and select Russian as the language, and you can access the Bahasa translation from there. For the speakers, kindly keep your microphones turned off when you're not speaking. You may activate your microphone when you're invited to speak on the panel. Moreover, you're also requested to speak in a normal pace so that the Bahasa interpreter can meet the flow of the presentations and statements. I will request the interpreters to flag us if to slow down in case we are moving fast. During the event, if you have any questions for the speakers, you can submit them in the chat box option, which is located at the bottom of your screen, and the speakers will address your questions at the end of the session. Thank you so much for your cooperation, everyone, and over to you, Vakar.
Thank you so much, Fiza. And I would like to start by saying that, as you all know, that TCI movement and TCI Global was founded by our dearest Dr. Bhargavi, and she gave her best possible effort for establishing um, a rights-based organization and a global movement of persons with psychosocial disabilities, which she started from three countries, three South Asian countries, and today it has a global status. And on behalf of the movement, I want to take this opportunity to thank her for creating this space for us where we can come together as a movement and work together for transforming communities for inclusion for persons with psychosocial disabilities. And as we all know that this is the only global organization and a movement of persons with psychosocial disabilities. I will not say that she's not there with us, but rather I will say that she is there in our hearts. And as a global OPD, we will continue to carry her legacy and take forward her vision and mission of inclusion. And we all pray that she rests in peace. So we want to start this webinar by remembering Bhargavi, and I would invite Ms. Robina Alamboya the president of TCI, for saying a few words for Bhargavi and welcoming all of the new members to this induction webinar. Over to you, Robina.
Okay. Thank you so much, Waka. I really appreciate each one of us for making every effort to join so that we are here together as a family and as a movement, transforming communities for inclusion, for our inclusion and for inclusion in all our diversities. Yes, as I begin, I really acknowledge the author of life that has enabled all of us to be here. Because sometimes you may want to be here, but there are things that we have no power over. But that one who is all powerful has enabled us to be here today. And indeed, as Waka has said, we just want to begin by a moment of respect to our sister, the founder of Transforming Communities for Inclusion. Let's just take just a moment of respect, remembering, appreciation, and maybe, and more to it, in a way of appreciating the gift of her life to us from the author of life. He gave him to us as a gift. A moment of silence. Thank you. We thank you, author of life, for the gift of Bhargavi. Amen. Today is a great day for us as Transforming Communities for Inclusion. And indeed, to add on to the words of welcome by Waka, we want to welcome each one of you and to say that to share our love as leaders of Transforming Communities for Inclusion. We treasure each one of us here. We treasure each of our members. We treasure you. And we know that we need one another. We are a family. We are being built into a strong movement that will transform lives, transform communities for the inclusion of persons with psychosocial disabilities and at large, all persons with disabilities. And as we come together as a movement, as a global organization that's recognized, it's very important for us to acknowledge and always go back to our identity. Who are we? Who am I? Who are you? Who are we together? So that we can be grounded in our work. We should also go back. Of course, we all bear the identity. We are persons with psychosocial disabilities in our different diversities. Then we should always also ask ourselves, these are grounding things. Why do we exist? What is the reason, the purpose of our existence? This one will also help us to be grounded and to be firm in what we are doing. Still in our diversities, because we are diverse organizations, we have all come together, but we have a common goal. And then also we need to be alert about the strategies. Which strategies are we going to use to achieve our purpose? And as we share together even today, we are going to hear a lot about the strategies of TCI Global, and also the different strategies that we are using in our local communities. And then what will be the way forward now? Because we are like in a transition. We've just said at the beginning also, you know, when somebody has a vision, the mother is like a mother. And the vision was well written, as the scripture says, that get a vision, write it very well on paper, so that whoever reads that vision can run with it. Our Bhagavi, beloved Bhagavi, wrote the vision very clearly for us. And we are all here because we all read the vision and we said we want to be part of this vision. And we ought to run with this vision. So what is the way forward? What has worked in the past? What has not worked well? Those are the things we should always consider at our local communities and for us together. What can we do better now? And all those things will come out. And as I conclude, trying to answer for me personally, as I was asking myself those questions, who are we? Why we exist? Who can we work with in this movement? Which strategies can we use? And what is the way forward? I got these things came to me, building that sense of belonging, to build ourselves into a stronger family, a stronger movement building, and building a collective, strong advocacy voice for our rights. So I would like to end it on that because of time would have taken so much into the depth. I would like to end by still saying, let us all feel this is a safe place for us. Let us all feel loved, treasured, and let's continue our peaceful, advocacy so that we may realize the good ends for all of us. Thank you so much, all of you from the different regions. Those who are from Asia, from Pacific, Africa, Latin America, Europe, the UK and the other countries. And if anyone else, if there's somebody who has joined us from the MENA region, that's the Middle East, you are all welcome, and you know that you are treasured for this movement to go on. Thank you so much. Back to you, Waka.
Thank you, Robina. Thank you so much for your welcome and opening remarks. It's always inspiring to hear from you as a leader. And thank you for the warm words for Bhargavi. And yes, there is no space such like this, as we call it, as an inclusion space where all our identities are respected. And we all thank Bhargavi for giving this vision of what inclusion for us as persons with psychosocial disabilities means. We acknowledge all opportunities, engagements we are able to make, and the knowledge we have gained. And it's a long list. So overall, I would just say thank you to TCI. I would start by sharing some history of TCI, and I would request my senior leaders here who have been there before me and to please indicate if I have missed any point. With support of Bapu Trust in India, the founding organization of Transforming Communities for Inclusion, along with the International Disability Alliance, a group of people with psychosocial disabilities and cross-disability supporters from Asia, organized a workshop on transforming communities for inclusion in Asia in 2013. And then the group decided and adopted on the identity of being persons with psychosocial disabilities, and considering this identity to be more inclusive and diversified. Under the identity of persons with disabilities, the CRPD opens doors of opportunities for us and provides us all fundamental human rights on an equal basis to others. The alliance was then named as Transforming Communities for Inclusion TCI Asia in 2014 in Bangkok, with the agreement of members from over 15 countries from Asia. And after that, TCI Asia became TCI Asia Pacific in 2018 during the Bali plenary, which was attended by people from 21 countries from Asia and Pacific. And during that plenary meeting, we adopted on the Bali Declaration, which we will be unpacking today. And one of our members will be speaking on that. And we used it as a manifesto for guiding our advocacy initiatives in the national context. In December 2020, considering our unique positioning as an inclusion movement and our increasing role in global advocacy, TCI Asia Pacific decided to become TCI Global as a global organization of persons with psychosocial disability. TCI is a post-CRPD movement and a membership-based organization with members in 50 countries. And we are working for the empowerment of organizations of persons with psychosocial disabilities. So we work directly with our national leaders and members through our program instruments, and also by mobilizing with them for various advocacy opportunities, such as webinars, engaging in some human rights consultations, creating opportunities for working with the CRPD committee on the list of issues, and etc. TCI has been working with its members to enhance their movements at the national level for advocating with the governments and their full inclusion in disability and development processes. There are countries where movements of persons with psychosocial disabilities don't exist. And even if they do, they are very medical model. And to counter this issue, our fellowship program has been really successful in terms of supporting national leaders for forming their national OPDs and establishing a momentum in the country for rights-based advocacy for inclusion of persons with psychosocial disabilities. Along with this, TCI also opens other opportunities for its members, such as micro grants on specific thematics, DPO support grants to support advocacy initiatives at the national level. We do country missions, we do sub-regional meetings, and there are various multi-stakeholder meetings which we do at the national, regional, and global level, so that we can create a space where we keep ourselves in the center of cross-disability movement, so that we are included in the development processes and decision-making processes. Today, during the webinar, we will be listening to many of our leaders and members from different parts of the world, sharing experiences of leadership development and capacity strengthening of national OPDs. With this, I would now request Ms. Chinta Munasinghe from NCS CAF, located in Sri Lanka, one of our founding members who have worked with us through various program instruments in TCI. Chinta, I would give the floor to you, and can you share with us how TCI grants have been useful to take your initiatives forward at the national level, and what is unique about TCI grants? Yes,
Excuse me. Sorry. Before we go to the grants, are you hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you, Robin.
Yes. Just allow me, my sisters and brothers. I think I got emotional and I left out something very important. As the president of TCI, I do acknowledge, because we have new members and old members, we need to acknowledge the board members. That as we acknowledge the secretariat, we have the board members, and some of them may be with us already here. Some may not be here, but we have a board member from Thailand, Kim. We have also Matrika from Nepal, and we have Yeni from Indonesia. We have Joseph from Geneva, and Robina from Uganda. So the board members, those who are here, please, we do acknowledge you and thank you so much for your contribution working with the secretariat and with all the members. Thank you so much. Thank
you, Robina.
Yes.
So, Chinta, over to you. We cannot hear you, Chinta. Chinta, can you unmute? We cannot hear you if you are speaking anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, Hi everyone. For me, it's good afternoon, but I wish you all good day. I hope you can hear me. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And especially all the board members, the past members, and new members. So let me talk about TCI grants and Consumer Action Forum and how we work and what is so unique in their TCI granting system. Actually, in our case, we were being supported by micro grants and catalyst grants. But what I like in compared to many other agencies, here we have a choice according to the theme to select what we are going to do. So NCS CAP for my organization was basically working to get any persons with mental illnesses to become a respective productive members in the society. That is where we started with TCI. So as we all know that as soon as you get some kind of mental health condition, and then you are being diagnosed, and then you are being labeled, and you are being stigmatized or discriminated. And at the end, you are being thrown away from your community and your family. So this is what they're going. So what we want to do is reverse this journey. So we're trying on our best with all our resources put in by us. And then we were doing in a small way in little bit of communities in one corner of the country, southern corner of the country, in a district called Hambantota. Then when we joined TCI and TCI supported us, there were many things changed. We moved into not just talking our stories and getting our peers to come out, we also moved into making the community preparation towards deinstitutionalization. And TCI projects made us to change our identity from persons with mental health conditions or mental illnesses into persons with psychosocial disability. And then it also made us look through the CRPD lenses about our rights and how our rights can be exercised. Then it also broadened our horizons from that little district to move into the national and international presence. And so I will just take you through some photographic presentation, how we have done it. So as you all know, I think we were in a medical model. This is what everyone was taking because we are just getting treatment and trying our best to become independent. Actually, with TCI, we have moved into the other model, human rights development model. So basically, we are like persons with psychosocial disabilities. Others are also supporting us. So we are being accepted, and also there are support systems and services that help us independent living compared to just getting treatment and be whatever place where others wanted us to stay and not calling us mental patients. So with our new identity, we were started. Actually, we were doing it in a little bit way, but we will move on to in a much more extensive way, like educating the community on effects and issues faced by persons with psychosocial disability for removing attitudinal barriers to community consultations and establishing support structures. Then also building the confidence and encourage communities and service providers to include and support persons with psychosocial disability. So we were doing kind of consultation workshops with these people, and then at the end, like ensuring equality and not discrimination at our place, because like it's not only persons with psychosocial disability, not only adults, not only youth, but everyone who comes into our workshops are included. Then at the end, we were able to establish community support groups who volunteered to take the lead in their own villages. So from there to where? Now we have got these volunteer groups who have been empowered and who have confidence on us. So instead of moving from just rehabilitation or treatment, we are now moving on to the empowerment level. To stand on our own feet with the support from others and also supporting others to stand on their own feet. So we are also taking responsibility. This is the process that we are going now. So from passive recipients of services to much more active participants. So these are some of the photographs. You can see a diversity of persons that engage with our work in different ways, like can be persons with disabilities, the children, even animals who are supporting, as you know, like for instance, you can see two photographs. One is Janice is here. Janice is actually a visually impaired, and then the dog is actually the one with the guide dog who had been trained at that time. So the dog is also participated in that, our programs. The spiritual programs together, putting our money, and we were doing it. Then the new identity also gives us introduce service providers from development sector to mental health service providers to establish our identity. Advocate and provide support for formulation and effective implementation of inclusive national and provincial policies and practices in partnership with cross-disability movement. There, we were actually studying, normally, if you say somebody, a mental patient, then it is actually we are belong to psychiatrists, medical officers, mental health, other mental health workers, maybe at the tertiary and, like secondary level. This was before 2002 when we were just started getting treatment and then trying to back into the community. But we, in 2004, as NCF's CAP, when we established in our organization, getting organized ourselves, we found that peers and community can do a lot of things. Except treatment, everything can be done by them. Then we also tend to know you can have mental health services at the primary health care level, which was not there. So it started in 2007. And I'm so happy that I was the first one to write the funding proposal for the Ministry of Health in community mental health to get these into the primary health care level. Then we identify also social and economic development stakeholders can do a role. But very rarely we thought, oh my God, the cross-disability movement is also there, whom we can use because they're very good at their advocacy. So these are the kind of, again, photographs to say that how we got these people sensitized. We use human library sessions, sharing our lived experience at different levels, can be national, it can be also provincial and at the different stakeholder levels. They develop in partnerships with cross-disability sector through what we need campaign that was supported by TCI. We had like to develop the what we need campaign material. We had kind of a communication workshop where it's not only the persons with psychosocial disabilities, but the organizations of persons with disabilities participated. And we all worked together on one theme, on a mental health day. Then we were able to develop good posters. They were modeling and they were designing with messages and also video clips, which we used. We also sensitized general public through forum theater, and it is community level. It can be even at higher level where this is actually as invited by the WHO and Consumer Action Network Lanka can image. So we were doing our forum theater in the Colombo capital. Then we also have a virtual information platforms to share our things in different ways. Once we are initiating and also participating in others to share our, and then we have a Facebook page. All these came after TCI joined. And then we also moved into not only the cross-disability sector, but development sector partnerships through the cross-disability movement. Like, for instance, CAMI, the Center for Disability Monitoring and Information Center for Disability, called CAMI. In their project, we were also included as one of the partners who as a underrepresented group. So that gives us the chance to move into the provincial advocacy level to be a part of the Southern Province Disability Inclusive Review Committee, who are involved in disability inclusive action plans. Then we also had opportunities to share experience in development forums organized by government and other organizations to share lived experience. And our presence at national and international level, well, we were doing little things, as I told you earlier. But TCI had so much confidence on us because they asked us to organize the TCI country mission in Sri Lanka and NCS CAP, that is the first international event organized by them. Then we also are a part of, as a contributor to the community inclusion research, documenting our approaches and outcomes of our practice. So all those international involvement started with TCI. And while doing that, we have been also became a member of the Executive Committee of Disability Organizations Joint Front, which is the national umbrella organization in Sri Lanka. So we always all take I should take opportunity to thank all the OPDs, organizations of persons with disabilities, working with us and promoting us at national level to make our efforts and also sharing our information and respecting us for what we are. So this is the generally also we were moving on to mental health. Their can image never forgets us, always gets us involved in national level advocacy. So this is how we work, and thank you so much. And the uniqueness, I always say TCI, because it is actually our organization. It is the organization of persons with psychosocial disability. So they respect us, they understand us, they have confidence in us. So we can try ourselves, prove ourselves, demonstrate ourselves, and join with others to advocate for our rights. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks,
you so
Vakar.
much. It will be really hard for me to summarize. Like, you have spoken about like so many things, like your transition, your journey from the medical model to the human rights model, that shift, then working with the cross disability sector, having a belief in the communities, how these communities can operate, in how we can include different various stakeholders, and what role communities and our surroundings can play for inclusion of persons with psychosocial disabilities. You spoke about international things, so it's something like it's very difficult for me to go all of that again. So thank you so much for this beautiful presentation and sharing your journey with us, and how TCI has supported NCS CAF to grow in Sri Lanka and take the advocacy actions forward. As we are now like in this frame of like speaking about micro grants and grants, I would now invite Matrika. Matrika Devkota serves with TCI as a treasurer and is one of the board members also, as Romina mentioned earlier. He has been associated with the movement since like very long time, and he's based in Nepal. He's the executive director of Koshish. Matrika, we would like to hear from you about some of your learnings, some of your learnings from the recently completed microgrant program with TCI, and how that microgrant program was useful for connecting with stakeholders, sensitizing them, and how you plan to utilize these stakeholders forums for dismantling legal incapacity laws in Nepal. What should be the way forward for taking the advocacy on TI in Nepal? Over to you, Matrika.
Thank you, Pakar. Greeting to board member and Robina, the chair, TCI, and others, and all the respected all colleagues. And so my name is Matrika. So like I met Bhargavi Dabur in 2009, and it was the beginning. And so she has a great vision and she told me, Matrika, this is the era of CRPD. we won't have any other convention in lifetime to use, and we must utilize. And then she was very confident. Then I was following and Bhargavi and TCI as a her vision. And so I I have my sincere gratitude and for Bhargavi what she has planted, and that's TCI. And thank you, Pakar, sharing about this work. So like I'd like to share in very brief. So globally, the the institutionalization problem is very big problem growing. Like country in Nepal, and we didn't have any institutions before 5 years. But recently the and the idea that the is being quite popular unknowingly, innocently. They are saying that living with the government, no one should be in the state. Everyone should get food, clothes, and place to put their head. So like, we are doing this extensively, and from like courses starting 16 years ago. And also recently we had a research of how are people live in the institutions. Like we had that research from support from Disability Right Fund. So our partner, one of the partner, and then from TCI's micro grant, we could utilize this as a catalytic. And we organize workshop, and we could disseminate that finding to different provinces, that how difficult is, how is the human rights situation of this person in the institutions. More than 5,000 people in last 3-4 years, and among them 90% are person with psychosocial disability. So through this micro grant, and it was catalytic that, so we had resources for research, and we didn't have resources to disseminate that widely. So we could go to the provincial government, as well as federal government, and we could present the finding, and also we could present about our work of inclusion. So that has been quite foundation for us, that these stakeholders are sensitized. So, and we look forward to continue this work. So I'm glad for this micro grant, TCI's courses, and also like finally I like to urge everyone, and like we need to have our global space of person, voice of person with psychosocial disability, and I firmly believe that, and TCI is the place, global and also inclusive place. We person with psychosocial diversity, and also we have so many different experience. So like we, each of us have different experience. So I am firmly believe that TCI will be the space, to include all the experiences, all the voice, inclusive voices. And thank you, Bakar. Look, I like to have a best wishes, and like all the colleagues who are here and who are newly joined, and to have a journey for the cause. I would like to have my best wishes for rest of the program will go very well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Matrika, and thank you again for acknowledging all the support which we have as a movement received from Bhargavi, and sharing warm words for her. Thank you also for sharing about the research work and all of the micro grant work which you have done with stakeholders. And I was thinking if it will be useful for the group here who has joined us today, if we can, Tham Kumari, Koshish team, Matrika, if you can share those findings with, if we can if anyone or in the group wants to, go through those findings, we can share that with you. And thank you, Matrika, for sharing that TCI is the space and it is an inclusive space for people with diverse disabilities, people sharing their different experiences of psychosocial disability. So thank you so much. We will move to our next speaker. Um, Yeah, so as I was sharing that TCI has played a vital role as a global OPD of persons with psychosocial disabilities on advocating for the right to live independently in the community and making communities inclusive of community services and support systems. In recent years and over the period of time, inclusion has become an emerging community of practice in TCI. And with support from Bapu Trust, who has worked for decades on transforming grassroots communities. TCI is working on a resource pack on community inclusion to support ongoing projects as well as emerging grassroots initiatives. Bapu Trust have the experiences of applying all CRPD principles to its program in India for creating inclusive communities, and we are honored for working and having their support for working with us on developing resources for supporting grassroots initiatives. So, if we can give the floor now, Kavita, I will give the floor to you now, and we would like to hear from you how we can support our grassroots, new and growing grassroots organizations through this through all of our work which we are currently in the process. We cannot hear you, Kavita. No.
Hello.
Yes, perfect.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Vakar, for honoring Bapu Trust. I think the legacy behind inclusion work, our very dear and honorable leader, Dr. Bhargavi, has initiated a spirit worldwide, in psychosocial health to think beyond mental health and to think beyond recovery and treatment and to know and recognize and to internalize that we are human beings first and our human beingness will be complete only when we have all our human rights. So I would start on that note. To give you a little context, I want to show just a few slides uh, about the work of Bapu Trust, and then I will be moving on to the community inclusion resource booklet. Just give me a minute. I'm going to share my screen. Yes. Is this visible to everyone? All right.
Yes.
So the organization was founded by Dr. Bhargavi in 1999. We work in India. We serve low-income urban communities in Pune city. Our community mental health inclusion program is also called SEHER. SEHER stands for a new dawn, like the morning. We have served about 8 lakh population at our highest, covering 30 low-income communities. When we started the SEHER program, we started, this was way back, I was 1999. So you can imagine at that time, how things were if things are like this at this time. So we were a mental health organization. What does that mean? It meant that we had a lot of experts on board, including psychiatrists. Our approach was very individual. We wanted to, we were concerned with treating people. We were concerned with enabling recovery. And our programs were clinical in nature. We had a lot of challenges running this model of psychosocial health intervention. We were not looking at any of the social and environmental factors which leads to psychosocial distress in the first place. So our typical mental health response was, okay, somebody comes to the center, we look at their symptoms, we plan a recovery, we make a recovery plan, and the expert will provide a diagnosis, for example, anxiety. And then we have interventions which will enable alleviation of the symptoms or reduction of the symptoms. So this is where we started. After the UNCRPD, came into force, and with Dr. Bhargavi's very close involvement in the drafting of the UNCRPD, she brought a very, very revolutionary perspective to our organization. She took a lot of radical and progressive steps. In what direction? We were a failure as a mental health organization because there were very few people actually who were actually recovering, and most of them did not feel included despite recovery. So we were thinking, what do we do? Because, it was very evident that this mental health approach was not working. Secondly, it was also not enabling inclusion. It was far away from a rights-based approach. So the first thing that I think one important learning for us was that we needed to invert the pyramid, which means we needed to have a non-expert model. We needed to give power back to the communities. Of course, we needed to move from a clinical approach to a community approach. We needed to think beyond treatment and recovery. We needed to think support. We needed to think inclusion as an outcome of our program. We wanted to tap informal and non-formal networks of people in communities who would provide this support. We wanted to respond to social needs of people, which led to discrimination. Of course, if we have to do all this, who is going to do this? How is this possible? We were not able to fathom this at that point of time. We had to make a psychosocial response, not a mental health response. And like I said, it was at that time that Dr. Bhargavi, she took very radical steps by literally closing down the programs and restarting the programs in a very renewed and progressive manner. The progressive manner was to move to a completely grassroots model of working, rely on non-formal and informal networks of people as support people, as service providers, support service providers, enable community-based doorstep reach, and expand our partnership base. So these were some of the key strategies that we employed. After having done that for almost 25 years, we very, very important learning for us was everybody can contribute one way or another when you're working in communities. And when we speak about psychosocial and health and inclusion, we are speaking beyond mental health. We are talking about shelter, food, fluids, volunteers, friends, families, companionship, working with communities, reaching out to a variety of stakeholders, thinking beyond just the typical service providers. So this is where we are coming from. I think it was important. I will stop my share here. It was important to share this because it will give context to our work in the community inclusion resource booklet. So we have been, Bapu Trust has been one of the core founders of TCI through the leadership of Dr. Bhargavi. And the partnership between TCI member groups with the TCI Secretariat is one that facilitates growth of OPDs and grassroots organizations. It facilitates taking our learnings to a global platform to influence policy networks. So harnessing this 25 years of learnings from running a community-based program, we arrived at the idea of coming out with a community inclusion resource booklet. Now you might wonder, what does that mean? To put it very, very simply, this will be a booklet that will have that will speak about inverting the pyramid, that will speak about giving the power back to people, that will speak about moving from recovery towards inclusion. How do we speak about that? We will give a lot of examples in terms of, the first place that the booklet will begin on is, why should OPDs and grassroots organizations have a rights-based approach? Why is that important? And what does that even mean to have a rights-based approach? Having a rights-based approach, it looks good in policy. How do we translate it in practice? It might be easier said than done. What do we do in terms of awareness? What do we do in terms of outreach, sensitization? What do we do in terms of building partnerships? What do we do in terms of claiming all our human rights? In terms of actions which actually can be applied on the field, which will lead to the outcome of inclusion. So the booklet will have, I think, around 8 to 10 chapters. Every chapter can be looked at as a module. And this module will serve the purpose of capacity building for the OPD or for the grassroots organization. So we have chapters like what is a rights-based approach. So we speak about the UNCRPD, we speak about the Sustainable Development Goals, we speak about the deinstitutionalization guidelines in a way that will be accessible to OPDs and to grassroots organizations. We will be providing a number of illustrations and examples in terms of how understanding of the CRPD, SDGs, and the deinstitutionalization guidelines can be brought into programs as strategies. We will speak about specifically about Article 19 of the UNCRPD, which is the article on inclusion. We will also speak about, one of the chapters is about moving from a medical model to a social model of disability, where we speak about discrimination, disability identity, and how can we reimagine support and services coming from this framework. So the first 3 chapters are basically concepts that we need to anchor our programs in when we are working with people. The next chapters of the booklet will focus on how do we bring this concept into at a program level. What do we do when you say you move from medical model to social model of disability? What is the action that needs to be done? So the next chapters, including awareness and outreach, partnering for inclusion, support services and support systems, developing core psychosocial skills, and having the backbone of project management systems. These are basically going to provide inputs, skills, capacities in terms of clearly spelling out the actions that need to be done at the field level. There will be a number of exercises at the end of every chapter, which will enable the OPDs to think together on, one, integrating the learnings from the resource booklet and the different chapters. Two, which will also enable them to work together in devising their own models of doing psychosocial disability inclusion. So, it might be very difficult, honestly, to relate to any of this at this point of time. But I'm very sure when you actually have the booklet in your hand, like a handbook. I go to the field, I carry this handbook. I see crisis. I open the chapter on crisis. I look at, what does the booklet say about crisis response? Okay, the booklet says that the crisis will pass. The booklet says that when in crisis, continue working with the person and continue asking them, how would you like to be supported? When in crisis, reach out, negotiate with families. When in crisis, ensure safety, food, and fluids. So this is basically, how we envision the booklet to be useful for the many organizations working at a grassroots level. The booklet is going to be grassroots. It's not going to be heavy on concepts. It's not going to be heavy on language. It's going to be a very, very practical model, ready for application or ready for piloting, I must say. TCI has been very, very instrumental in enabling Bapu Trust to take learnings from the field program and present it in this manner. And this is just one examples of how TCI has contributed and facilitated our growth as a DPO. And yeah, I think that's where I will stop. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kavita. Thank you so very much. And I know everybody in the group now, like, we need this resource book right now. So we are all excited and we are keeping our fingers crossed and looking forward to this amazing booklet. And thank you for all of the support which you have been giving and which you are giving to TCI Secretariat and other members. At this point, I also want to acknowledge all of the exchange visits which you have organized for other members who can, come to India, learn about Seher. And so thank you for all of your support and importance of how those actions should be applied at the grassroots community level. What is the meaning of rights-based approach? We say in concepts, but how do we apply them? So we will definitely benefit from you and all the OPD members who are here today, and also other networks who could not join today. So we look forward to this community booklet and taking the work of transforming communities for inclusion forward. Thank you so much, Kavita. Um, as I mentioned that in TCI, we developed on a Bali Declaration in 2018, and it was our first Asia Pacific level regional advocacy tool used by our members for leading and guiding our advocacy. Indonesian Mental Health Association, IMHA, one of our founding members from Indonesia, took a lead for hosting this plenary in Bali. And unfortunately, Yeni could not join, the executive director of IMHA, due to some of our other engagements, but we are joined by Dede from IMHA to share with us about the Bali Declaration. Dede, so I give the floor to you for unpacking the Bali Declaration and share with our members what are the major important components which we cover in the declaration and how we can use them for guiding our advocacy. So over to you, Dede.
Okay, thank you, Akar. I will use Indonesian language. Thank you, Akar, and also all the participants that are here, and then given effort to join this meetings, and also to our friends that cannot come to this meetings for a disability. I will be trying to do on this meeting. I would like to talk about the internalizations, the spirit of the declarations, the struggle of the Bali plenary had participants. The Bali plenary had participants, and then we are doing in Asian Pacific. And at that times, I was too young. And there's an inclusive Bali declarations. How we working on stigma in the stigma for and stigma and perspective of the disability, psychosocial disabilities. Before Chinta already mentioned regarding we are not anymore, we are not mental impairment anymore. Inside the body declaration, there's the general situations. First is about the human rights that happen in Hamyang to the psychosocial disabilities individuals that already happened, and humiliations that happened in Bali. And it's also happened in Indonesia. It's not only happened in the medical, but also in rehabilitation places, houses. The concept of the medical models the failure concepts of policy responses. This concept is close stigmatizing, confining non-consensuals, and also as the reason why psychosocial disabilities to lose their rights inclusively in society. This concept is full of abusement in the hospitals or also in the disabilities places. It's not look like we already fulfilled the standards of the human rights that happen in Indonesia. It's not using it. Some medical model, and it's also happened in Indonesia. Bali declarations, many crucial problems can seem. There's a key issue raised in the Bali Declaration. There are still new mental health regulations that enforce treatment without consent. And we're working on this in the situations. Firstly, it's about the regulations. As I mentioned, directed at creating better conditions to stay in mental institutions, but not questioning the coercive design and system. And also the mental institutions are a place of subverts the meaning of Article 19. The key is we're really related. There is in our list, there is a 3,000 until 5,000 of people with a psychosocial disabilities is not treated well in our social community. And our third point is about the family and also the communities that still practice checkings and inclusions of people with psychosocial disabilities. And also there's a lot of silencing the voices of people. For example, in Indonesia, there is still individual with a psychosocial is not allowed. They're not allowed to work as well. They're not allowed to put their voices, and they cannot they cannot choose the governments. And also about some actions and also discriminative rights and social law in Asian Pacific. I think this is some of the issue. And I make it as the Bali Declaration is really amazing. We are encourage people to have a movement to delay the paradigms about regarding the psychosocial human rights models. And also the movement of we are also talking about how inclusions develop as a purpose and also the goals, our goals. Application services. It is not a segregations. And its number 3 is approachment, the longer than the human right, go beyond the approaches used by the based on human rights. We are adopting a non-violent community-based movement where the people with psychosocial disabilities will participate in every stage and process. And for the medications, and by the consents, the medications by the consents. And if in the Indonesian context, sometimes they also abuse the patients. So what is IMHA being done? So they should be supported by the social protections, by the foods, by the people, by the employment. They should be feel safe and by the countries. That is what we are doing right now. And we are using the work on the day inclusive socializations and a political and so what is actually IMHA doing is actually basically institute by rehabilitation in Indonesia. Bali Declaration is one of our exciting projects regarding to give a medications for an individual that having a psychosocial there are almost 500 people with in these cases in family and populations in the families and communities, including shacklings and practice commonly found. The complete silencing of voices of persons with psychosocial disabilities. We already mentioned this to the government of the human rights and also the we are also working on data science and rehabilitations of mental rehabilitations. They need to come and then they need to don't visit so they can see what also actually happened in the situations of mental rehabilitation in Indonesia. They need to check that by themselves. So for example,
can I request you to wrap up? Yeah, we are out of time.
maybe in 2 minutes.
Yes, yeah.
And then for the next step forward, we are working in a Pokja human rights as an advancement development of the institutionalization roadmap and also various meetings with the government for the inventions. And also we are doing social protections from this is as the results of our Bali plano. We are advocating social protection. So we are So, for example, we are giving a discount prices for the disabilities when they are coming to the medical centers. So we are also doing this applications policies and programs for the social protections and our activity in Indonesia with the disabilities in Indonesia. We are using applications for the law in Indonesia regarding the disabilities based on jurisdictions or and also reviewing the human rights that we're already working on. And for the next, we are also advocating the justice and also the politics for the to make sure that the psychosocials have the in Indonesia there's a lot of low quality places for them for psychosocial disabilities to come and then to check themselves. It's a low qualities of them as a subject. They're doing the advocations of this program. And also we are also doing a discussion regarding applications for a judicial review on article on guardianship in Indonesia that become the member of the IMPA with someone with disabilities in Indonesia. They acknowledge there is a psychosocial disability happen in Indonesia and inclusively, so they are called inclusive by living in a social community. I think this is all from Imhai.
This is all from Imha. Imha is doing a lot, and thank you for this amazing presentation, Dede. And we are all inspired by all of the work which Imha is doing with in partnership with cross disability organizations, and it has been really amazing for other members also to learn from Imha how to create that space within the cross disability spaces to working for the institutionalization and community inclusion of persons with psychosocial disabilities. And thank you so much for sharing about the Bali Declaration, as well as connecting all of those elements with your work in Indonesia. So thank you so much. And um, without any further delays, because we are running a bit out of time, I would now request Samuel to take the floor, because after Asia Pacific, when we stepped into Africa as a global OPD, we developed another declaration for guiding our advocacy in Africa. And with support from our leading members in Africa, we developed the Addis Declaration. I would request Samuel to take the floor and share with us his experiences with TCI since we have stepped into the African region, the change witnessed, and what does the Addis Declaration has to offer OPDs in Africa. Samuel, I will just request you to keep it short. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Wakar. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Good evening if you have people from those regions. And I'm really happy today morning to find my fellow TCI members. It always kind of rekindles the spirit of our movement. I'm the team lead at CSC Kenya, and I can also see some Kenyans around. Hi, Wakar, can you hear me?
Yes, Samuel,
Hi.
all good. Yes, please go on.
Okay. Yes, I'm glad to see my fellow Kenyans. And there's a spirit because we always meet in other forums, members of the cross disability movement who have come into this meeting. So I'm the team leader championing for inclusive communities in Kenya, which was formed under the TCI Fellowship Program back in the year 2022 at Bangkok during one of the conventions of TCI. And I vividly remember Bagavi taking me through the induction of community inclusion. And we made a sudden decision not to follow any medical model. It was an instant paradigm shift right from the formation of the organization. And miraculously, the same year, we were able to come together in a sub-regional convening in Addis Ababa, where we came up with this declaration, which was premeditated by the Bali Declaration. And we were able to identify common barriers within the East African region that have a commonality with barriers found in Asia Pacific region, who are subjects of the domination from the global north. And I can say, like when Kavita was speaking, I could hear the voice of Bagavi. And it's kind of, this movement is a revolutionary movement. It's a political and socio-economic total paradigm shift concept based on the principle of community inclusion. And what you've learned is that people have power, people have knowledge, people can be innovative because every activity gives a new experience. The medical model had shunned people's innovations, the thinking capacity, and the directions were coming from the top, from the rulers and from the medics. on how people should conduct themselves. And the community inclusion models gives our independence of thinking, and it also gives us to open up opportunities for everyone. It is always very, very fascinating when we go into the communities and see how much people know but have been suppressed. And every community is different, and with their knowledge combined with the human rights model, people can always come out of that cycle of medicine, go to bed, eat your food, go to an institution when you're not okay, and people can discover themselves through the various activities that they are performing. At TCI Kenya, we have adapted the model of socioeconomic empowerment, whereby we are also coming up with innovations on mitigating to climate change. People can produce their subsistence foods in a very reasonable cost, and that one can also help in terms of being therapeutic, and also in earning their basic livelihoods. We have also seen activities like nature walks, music and drama, football, and other sporting activities being used as alternatives to the medical model. And also the element of bringing people together. They form a common board whereby people can now be all inclusive. Other opportunities that have opened up is that, and what we are considering is to really strengthen the youth movement with also different activities like the empowerment of the girl child and also the women movement. They have a lot of activities that we have brought together. So we don't even remember that we are dealing with mental health conditions, because we are dealing with all issues that are affiliated to individuals who live in a certain community. So I give all these attributes to the innovations and the hard work and the support from the DPO grant and from the community inclusion catalyst grant, and also the exchange programs like I've just seen remembered with nostalgia, the meeting in Sri Lanka that Chinta presented. And I'm always very, very happy that every time I get to engage in a TCI activity, it opens up my mind into new levels. I also look forward to one day that I visit Bapu Trust. I've heard about Bapu Trust for so long, and I really admire the kind of work that they started, and this is what has laid the foundation of all that we are doing now. And to all the members in Africa, East Africa and Africa as well, I think now this is the time the work is just beginning. We have gone through very many challenges. We have learned a lot, we've made so many mistakes, and we believe that by coming together, and also your leadership, Madam President, that we are going to take TCI into the next level. And because of time, I might not give so much, but I hope we are going to meet in many other forums. But for now, I'm just say goodbye, and may the comradeship, the spirit, keep on moving and moving on. Thank you very much, Wakar.
Thank you, Samuel. So I will right away hand over to Richa to wrap up Samuel's presentation, and then Richa, over to you for taking the webinar forward.
Thank you, Vakar. And thank you, Samuel, for sharing that about not just the Addis Declaration, but also what work CIC Kenya has been doing in its own communities. And we think that's what the power of Bali Declaration and Addis Declaration is, because it is owned and led by persons with psychosocial disabilities. And it's very evident again from all the works that you could share in that short time, Samuel. So thank you for that. And also just adding on that these innovations that you've spoken about, like the nature walks, the type of peer support activities and groups that you've been doing in your own counties in Kenya, I think they are very effective and very innovative at the grassroots level. But again, the whole point being that they are informed by what are the needs and the supports required by persons with psychosocial disabilities. So thank you for sharing that and giving a glimpse into the Kenyan landscape. So with that, I will take it forward to the next session where we will be briefly talking about the capsule learning sessions. So my name is Richa, and I'm with TCI as the Research and Advocacy Officer. And I'm very excited to share with you that at TCI, we are introducing a new initiative, which we believe will support in capacity building and encourage knowledge building among our members. And we are calling them the capsule learning sessions. So what exactly are these sessions? They will be short and focused and targeted learning sessions, which will be designed to share updated information on a range of topics which are crucial and critical for our movement. These sessions, because they are short, they will be designed to fit into a short time frame, making them easy to understand, more accessible, and introduce our members and movement to the latest knowledge and resources available on relevant thematics. The whole reason why we are launching these capsule learning sessions is again informed by what we have been requested for by our members, because we've had this request time and again to hold such learning and sharing spaces where this information, resources on key thematics, such as deinstitutionalization, community inclusion, access to justice, CRPD, to name a few, can be disseminated in a way that breaks down complex topics into easy to understand bite-sized pieces. We really hope that these sessions will help not only in contributing to building our knowledge base, but it will also strengthen the advocacy that we all do for our rightful inclusion at various levels. We aim to, the format that we want to conduct these sessions in, we hope to have them in a more engaging and an interactive format. So we can learn together by doing activities. And I think one of the main key priorities for us would be to include grassroots examples from community works wherever it's possible to support our members to understand the topics using real world examples. We hope these sessions will help our members in developing new skills for them, refreshing existing knowledge, and to explore newer areas of advocacy works. We are incredibly excited about the potential of these sessions, but to truly make this successful, and as we said, informed by our members, we request for your inputs to really inform the kind of topics that we will be taking in these sessions. My colleagues will be posting a link in the chat box, which will take you to a web page where where we request you to put in any topics that you feel we should cover in these learning sessions. It could be a very small topic, or it could be a very complex one. So please feel free to share any suggestions or inputs you may have. And yes, thank you, Vakar. So the link is there in the chat box. And to make it more accessible, and if some of you or some of your colleagues want to input into it, we will also be sharing this link via an email. So then you can, again, share your suggestions later as well. With this, I end my topic on capsule learning sessions. And thank you for your attention and for your continued engagement with all of us at TCI. And we really look forward to your participation into this new initiative. Thank you. Vakar, do we have time for open dialogue, or should I invite Fiza to go ahead with the
I was thinking if we can give 1 minute for everyone to just access the link.
Yeah. and put in if they have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if they want to add anything into that.
Yeah, so you yes, so everyone can take a minute or two to just access the link. If you have suggestions. Yes, Tham Kumari, we'll be also sharing it in the email as well. But just if anyone has any quick thoughts and if they want to input right now, you're free to do so. You're free to do that as well. Otherwise, of course, we'll share it in the email.
We have already started receiving some responses. So just if you can click on the link, you
I
can
see the
input your answer and submit. That's it.
Okay. So we'll give a minute.
Yeah, we'll just give a minute, Richa.
No problem.
And maybe we can open the floor for a few minutes if somebody has to share anything. And then we can request Fiza to take forward.
Yeah, and yeah, because this is a space where we wish that everyone could come together and just introduce themselves, maybe speak where they are located in the world, what do they do, just like very briefly, so that at least the people who are in the room kind of know each other. And whoever wants to go first could raise their hands and could speak. And if some of you want to put in the chat box, that option is also available. So anyone who wants to kind of just say hi to the group and introduce yourselves. Or I'll call out the ones I know already. Anyone in the group that wants to that just wants to kind of say hello and maybe just even your name and where you're located.
Can I start?
Yes,
Hello.
please. Hi.
Bulavinaka, everyone. My name is Eleanor, and I'm currently a UN volunteer here at the OHCHR, or the UN Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights at the Pacific Regional Office. I'm also a person with a psychosocial disability. Glad to meet everyone. I'm also part of the Psychiatric Survivors Association. You might know Sarah.
Yes.
I think Sarah has been part of some of the TCI events. Thank you.
Thank you, Eleanor, to get the ball rolling. And thank you for sharing about yourself and saying hi to the group. And of course, we know Sarah and we know PSA, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, and welcome. Welcome to TCI. Anyone else who wants to go ahead? I see Agus has put his video on.
Okay,
Yes.
hi Richa, hi Wakar. Hi everyone, my name is Agus. I'm from Indonesia. And I'm glad to be here and to see you all. Yeah, I see Robina, Dorothy is also here. And of course, Dede. It's been a while since we are not meeting offline. And yeah, I'm glad to be here. And I am from Remisi, is an organization for persons or young people with psychosocial disabilities based in Jakarta. And yeah, I just want to tell you guys that TCI with Bhargavi helped me with the creation of my organization, and it's just it's such a blast to be here with what I'm doing and what my organization has been doing so far. So it's glad to be here and connected with all you guys, and I hope that I could learn a lot from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Agus. Thank you for your kind words for Bhargavi and for remembering her, and also letting us know about the work that you do in Indonesia. Thanks. Anyone else? if we don't have anyone else, then we'll just move on to the next section. But in the time being, if you feel like saying hi, because I saw a few hellos in the chat box between the Kenyan groups. So we saw that. So if anyone else wants to just write hello and introduce themselves in the chat, that's also fine. And now I will request Fiza to please take over and share your, just a second. Okay, yeah, yes, Fiza, thank you.
Richa, can you share the presentation? Hello, everyone. So I'm here to share with you a brief report on a survey which TCI conducted for its member networks on the current state of persons with psychosocial disabilities in institutions and the urgency to deinstitutionalize. The survey was launched as part of TCI's annual advocacy campaign, What We Need 2023, from October to December 2023. We had a total of 73 participants from 31 countries, and some of them were psychosocial disability, persons with psychosocial disabilities, self-advocates, OPDs of persons with psychosocial disabilities, cross-disability organization, and human rights activists. The insights derived from this survey serve as a guide for future advocacy initiatives aimed at promoting the rights and inclusion of persons with psychosocial disabilities and development agendas. We had some of, I will share briefly the key findings of the survey with you. The major one was lack of awareness on CRPD. Despite 18 years since the adoption of the UN CRPD, persons with psychosocial disabilities still have minimal access to the national opportunities, and OPDs lack technical expertise and CRPD knowledge. We have very low awareness on the identity of persons with psychosocial disabilities, which confines them to the health sector, limiting their rights and independence. Communities also lack awareness about their identity, rights, and importance of support systems for inclusion. There is an urgent need to strengthen the capacities of OPDs and self-advocates for effective policy reform. Next, we have is the National Disability Framework and legal systems. Yes. Many countries have disability rights laws to protect persons with disabilities, but persons with psychosocial disabilities are often excluded from these legislations. Over 70% of the respondents of the surveys indicated that their country's legislative frameworks are based on medical model confining persons with psychosocial disabilities to mental health laws, psychiatric treatments, and rehabilitation services. Governments and line ministries often do not involve organizations of persons with disabilities in their meetings and in their policy frameworks. Additionally, also OPDs also face discrimination when it comes to building partnerships with cross-disability organizations. Next, we have, I will briefly go over the situation of persons with psychosocial disability in institutions. Majority of the survey respondents say that we have experienced living in institution and have been subjected to psychiatric treatments. The survey findings highlighted the inhumane treatment of persons with psychosocial disabilities, including women, children, and other neurodiverse identities. The mistreatments include sexual violences, abuses, forced treatments, electroshock therapies, and administration of psychiatric drugs, chaining, isolation, mechanical restraints, constant surveillance on them, coercion, physical violence, and forced sterilization, and worst of all, abortions and being separated from their children. So these disturbing realities emphasizes the urgent need for deinstitutionalization and comprehensive reforms in mental health support systems to protect their rights and dignity. So in conclusion, we had some recommendations from the respondents. The survey also highlighted the urgent need for action to address the alarming situation faced by individuals with psychosocial disabilities in institutions. It reveals a pattern of discrimination, human rights violation, and social exclusion experienced by persons with psychosocial disabilities. These are some of the recommendations. Legal incapacity laws should be dismantled immediately. Inclusive laws and policies should be introduced, and OPDs should be part of the policies reforming processes. There should be some programs to build capacities of OPDs so that they can, build their national movements to lead advocacy initiatives in their national capacity. And also, there is an urgent need to build capacities of OPDs on DI guidelines so that they can work on deinstitutionalization on better level. The survey also highlighted the exclusion experienced by a person with psychosocial disabilities. Next slide, please. Following this survey, TCI will soon launch another survey on community inclusion to develop a global report on situation of persons with psychosocial disabilities regarding independent living, access to mainstream, and community inclusion of persons with psychosocial disabilities. This survey will be shared with you in the coming weeks, and we will request you all to please fill the survey and share within your network so that we can have majority of responses and we can develop a strong report that will help base our future advocacy initiatives on. Next slide, please. Also, our TCI's annual campaign, what we need is coming soon in September. And this is a yearly campaign organized by TCI, which provides opportunity to all of our members to share their advocacy works and initiative in forms of blogs, pictures, artworks, videos, and however they want to. It's a very open platform, and we urge all our members to share their works in What We Need campaign. We will share the news of the campaign soon with you, and that's all from my side for today. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Fiza. Okay. Yes, Fiza has also shared the link to the survey report on the DI survey that she just presented on. Please feel free to read it at your end. With this, I think we are already over time. We thank you all so much for coming and attending this members induction webinar with us and for staying for the entire duration. And it's been a pleasure listening to all our senior leaders of the movement and looking at the kind of works that they're doing at the grassroots, informing their advocacy at national and global levels. And we hope that because we want to, for our members, we always consider this, and we've always ensured that this is a safe space and a sharing space where we all can learn from each other, exchange knowledge, and grow together as a movement. Because again, in TCI, as Dr. Bhargavi has always said, that as a movement, we all move together and not in isolation. And that's the entire aim of conducting these induction webinars, having space for members to know each other, to know us, and get familiarized. So we will be in touch, and you're of course all there in our IO groups, and please do look out for our emails and for our information that we share on social media. If you have anything that you would like to share with us, any feedback, any comments, if you just need to be in touch with us, please do send us an email. Fiza, can you also put in the email ID just in the chat box? And yes, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll definitely respond to you and be in touch with you. And with that, I thank our secretariat team, our board, and all our speakers and all our participants. So with that, we sign off, and thank you so much. We close the webinar now.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.